Compose, which some people would call it Docker Compose, other people call it Podman Compose. Since we're not doing an either or kind of thing, we're just going to call it Compose. And we're going to talk about quadlets, which is something new. That'll help you. If you remember back to the VM world, there were times where we're like, yep, I created a really cool VM and it does something useful, and I need it to start when my computer starts because it's useful, right? There were ways you could do that with a container. They were all a little bit kludgy. Now we have quadlets, which is slightly less kludgy, okay? But it allows you to start containers basically when you log in as your user account. Because one of the things with containers is you can have two different types of containers. And I'm just going to use my work account here. That's why I have my phone right next to me.
Very Spartan SSO page.
Yeah, you like that? That's Red Hat's SSO page. All right, so the console loads. I'm in the developer sandbox. I want to launch OpenShift, so it launches another window. And then what I want to do is I want to get my login command. Yes, login with the dev sandbox, display my token, and here's my login command. So I'm just going to copy that, come back over to Podman Desktop, paste in my login command, hit create, and now I have a successful thing. If I come up here, I can hit dev sandbox. And now you can see that things like services are beginning to show up from that Kubernetes cluster that I just connected to. So I can begin to see things that are available to me to create containers, run containers that are available in other areas, okay? So even though I'm on my local laptop, since I have a Kubernetes cluster, you can't do it if it's like Podman to Podman, but you can do it if it's Podman to Kubernetes. Then you can interface with other things. Okay, note a presentation. Controlling containers, managing images. All right, so images, you can pull an image. So if I needed like UBI 9, this is universal base image that Red Hat puts out for. No, you can, it'll search all the registries that are out there to see if it can find that container name. Yeah, it didn't find that one. What's another good one? How about Drupal? But that was how you would basically manage images. If there's an image that you don't need anymore, you can highlight one or more and hit delete up here, or you can, we'll delete it. If you wanted to run the Python container, you could hit play. It'll ask you some information. Same type of information you get asked if you're creating a container on the command line. What do you want to name the container? What's the entry point? Entry point is what command you want it to run when it starts the container. So it could be start.sh, it could be Python app.py, you know, if you wanted to start up a Python app called app.py. This one doesn't do anything. You can map volumes to paths inside the container. You can do port mapping. You can set up environment variables. You can just give it an environment file if you want to.
Oh, and before you continue, so will
Yep.
This will pick up containers you already have in your user environment already?
This will take up images. Images are used to create containers.
Yeah, so what
right?
I'm saying is if I already have images in my user environment,
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
pop in the first time, it'll
Yep.
see it.
Yep, so for this one, we just grabbed, we're talking about Podman.
You ran that in a container.
I did, yeah. Yep, ran that in a container. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Compose. A lot of people call it Docker Compose. Some people call it Podman Compose. Podman Compose will just make a call to Docker Compose anyways. So Compose. Compose is cool. So if you think about back to when we ran virtual machines, we always wanted to create these multi-tier applications with virtual machines, and we had to have like minimum of 3 operating systems running on our laptops, because there was the host operating system, the operating system for the web server, the operating system for the database. And if each of those needed like 4 gigabytes of RAM, you were already at 12. Hopefully your laptop has 16, right? And it's weird. But we could do that, and we could set up networking between the two, and we could set up drives for it to access and stuff like that. When compose.yaml, if I less this thing out, we can go through that and look at what it all does. So the first thing it does is it defines some services. There's going to be a database service, which we're going to use a MariaDB for. So it calls out the image name that it has to grab. And then the command that's going to run when it starts up, remember we said entry points was the command that you want to run when the container starts. So this is when the commands run when it starts. The volumes that it brings in, so DB data on my local system will be mounted to varlib MySQL inside the container, because that is the default directory that MySQL stores its databases in. Restart always means that if it dies for whatever reason, Podman or whatever container.
But if Podman desktop could do it like that, I'm all for it.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and launch the container. I'm going to come out of here. I'm going to type in Podman.
But is Peter going to say that this is making you stupid for not knowing? Like, you know, the AI.
VirtualBox is for virtual machines. This is, I'm not using any virtual machines today. This is like right on my laptop. All right.
Hey, like I was getting like emails about, work, earn $30 to $35 an hour training AI to code. I'm going 30, 35, not bad.
All right. So here's our command. We're going to use podman compose-f, name of the file we want to bring in that defines what our, what?
What does detach do?
When the containers are up and running, it detaches from them. So it returns you back to the command prompt instead of staying attached to the containers.
So if I wanted to see the output, the idea is you don't want to burden the people that makes the software with the complexity of network storage and all that stuff. Makes sense. It comes from the stuff around it, and that yes, you can implement let's say network protocols as an R container. Yeah. That has rights to modify the network. But as long as you don't tell everyone, hey, you can keep this piece in your old network.
Okay. And to show that there's proof that WordPress is up and running, that took what, like total of 3 minutes, right? Full on WordPress site, 2 containers. Yeah, I mean, it would have taken that long to get past all the next
Now,
finish.
The YAML
So.
file, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but where did you get the YAML file? Did you just create it yourself, or was that just?
I downloaded that one from a demo website. Yeah. But you can write that out yourself. So.
Well, it would take someone's modifying.
And so I can come in here and
Rather than just pressing a button and it just worked.
yeah.
You can set out the process.
So for whatever reason, it didn't like my WordPress
I
thing.
always want to know, I mean, I love it when stuff does stuff automatically, but I want to see what it did, you know? But so, in this case, all it's converted was from one syntax to another. Okay. It's not doing anything magic. Sure. And that said, there's a library somewhere that goes in. Yeah. If you have any container, if you want to really see what it's doing, you just log the verbosity of what it wants. Yeah. And you will see every freaking command and every input, every output that comes from that. And if that helps you, to me, I can only use that for debugging. I can't use that to understand. Well, I mean, sometimes I don't understand, like, for instance, and not to continue on because this is fascinating. But, for instance, on that installer stuff, there were some commands involved with partitioning and stuff that I didn't know how to do myself, and it was really useful for me to see how someone else did it, so I could see, oh, that's how you do that. That's how you resize it. That's how you convert it. And you can see that. So the cool thing about containers is, at least in source method. You can always find
This
the
will probably
option to
fail
plug,
too.
you know,
Yeah, the image.
plug that into the code base and instead of doing, well, when you say generate system D, you're literally just doing it on Kotlin. Okay. It is still there. You can still write a regular system D unit raw, but when you see source Kotlin unit, it just does it automatically. And these are actually advanced. Most of the time, you just give it an image and when you restart, and then you're done. Okay. The rest of it is just standard system D stuff, like journal D, all that stuff. You want to log, or if you want to see why it didn't start and it came up, it's all as you can do it.
Yeah, I asked Dan Walsh, who created Quadlets, like why the word Quadlet. He was like, well, you got a cube, right? Now you got a Quadlet. So, you know, you can get some.
That's the kind of humor that always gets me every
Yeah, it's kind of like the other last big thing that Dan Walsh created called, where the people who work for him like, Dan, what are we going to call this? He's like, I don't know. It makes containers. Call it Builda. And they're like, Builda? And they're like, yeah, Builda. All right, so back to where we were. All right, so I ran system, CTL, user, daemon reload. What daemon reload does is it looks in this directory that we're in, right? Because that's our default directory, and it looks at any files in there named .container. And if there's a file in there, it parses it and tries to create a systemd service from that file. So systemctl -- user status olama.service. I took my .container file and made a service file, and this is what it looks like. Now I've run this a couple of times, so it's a little bit ugly looking right now. It's got some errors, stuff like that. But you can see where it generated this. Yeah, it's dead. It's not running. You can see where it generated this from my olama.container file.
Service is a system service that is assigned to the Apache
That's the
user.
difference, is the way you
Right.
said, and so that was the way we used to do it.
So that's what system service users like.
What system D allows you to do is to do that exact same thing with your own process as a user space. Those processes do nothing that you can't do as an end user.
Right.
Yep.
I guess what I'm wondering is how, so let's say I have an NFS home directory, right, or something like that. The system's not going to know about it. So there must be some way to inject that as the user, so systemd knows to start that because I've said that. So where does that, I guess, where is that configuration file or details stored in systemd? So the systemd knows at boot up, I'm going to start this user's container.
If you have a automon, basically, an autofs.
I don't think it actually starts until after you log in.
That's okay. So that's what I'm splitting
Yeah.
hairs about.
Yeah, it doesn't start until after you log in. There we go. So this is, yes, I was saying that weird queries yesterday. You can erase your queries just like in ChatGPT. All right, so new chat. I can select a model. Gemma is brand new, came out from Google a couple days ago. Not a fan. But if I want to do Mistral, and let me see if okay, so you can see what I was doing there, Peter. I'm not going to bring that up. That was our get policy. So if I come into here, I can select different models. And we probably shouldn't spend too long in here because this will ruin my talk from a couple weeks. But this is a list of all the models that. Yeah, Gemma.
It's like Gemma without the I.
Yeah. Gemma right there. Hey, you want to see Gemma really quick? All right. It's okay.
Well, they also faked their demo of Gemini. In those Google.
Isn't it just BART rebranded because of the bad stigma that got associated with BART?
Probably.
That's what I thought.
One cool thing about Gemma is it's only 1.3 gigabytes, the model. So it's really small. Some of the other ones are much higher. So that is not the largest margin of victory. So But I love doing that because every single one of them will give you the wrong answer.
I mean, you
Because
see
they all came from, they all scraped the wrong.
Welcome to the
Yeah,
future of computing.
scraped the wrong answer from the wrong website, from the website and the wrong.
Show that anymore. Instead, what we're going to do is in a couple of months, we're going to build our own demo of doing AI stuff like LLMs. Okay? Or whatever's cool at the time. If you want some resources, we'll get the slide deck out to everybody. You got the Podman Desktop blog, you got Podman Desktop documentation, Docker desktop extensions, the Docker Compose website, and making systemd better for Podman with Quadlet, which was written by Dan Walsh, the guy who created Quadlet. And I think that is it. Yep, because now it's looping me through. Thanks for attending.
We've already covered it, but so is Podman Desktop largely the same or similar to then Docker Desktop that they've now put as their commercial product?
Yeah, they have the same aim as far as what they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to provide to the user community. It's the same thing, but